Bada bing, bada boom, we're back. Hey, like and subscribe. Accountrepreneur Sales, that's where it's at. If you've liked the videos in the past, that's why you came back, right? You're selling more, you're learning more, you're closing more. So look, I wanted to make this video because it's so important. It's so important to me to get this point across to everyone, all right? Why prospects feel compelled to follow through with their own words, So basically what I'm going to cover today is the science of commitment and consistency. And in sales, we always want that consistency. So we're covering one of the most misunderstood concepts in sales psychology today. Most accountants think sales happens when someone agrees to become a client. That's not when the sale happens. The sale happened long before that. The client simply caught up to a decision that they had already been making throughout the conversation. The principle is called, write this down, commitment and consistency. And it comes from decades of behavioral psychology research. So look, if you're a bookkeeper, tax professional, CFO consultant, or advisory professional, mastering this concept will immediately improve your discovery calls, consultations, networking meetings, and client conversions. Guys, not because you'll become more persuasive, right? Because you'll understand how human beings naturally make decisions. So let's go ahead and title this one Module 1, the human need for consistency. Human beings have a deep psychological desire to appear consistent, not just to others, but most importantly to themselves. So what does that even mean, right? When someone says, hey, I want to grow my business, I need better financial reporting, I need to get the books cleaned up, I want to stop overpaying taxes, well, those statements aren't random. They become part of that person's self-image. One people publicly state a belief, a goal, or intention, and they begin feeling internal pressure to behave consistently with what they said, right? And psychologists call this consistency bias. Okay, write that down, consistency bias. So understand, the larger the commitment, the stronger the pressure. And that's not manipulation. It's just how the brain reduces uncertainty. People want alignment between what they say and what they do. All right, let's go to the next module, Module 2. Hey, why most accountants lose clients. Look, let's look at what most accountants do, all right? The prospect says, hey, my books are a mess. The accountant immediately responds, well, great. Here's how our bookkeeping package works. Well, guys, that's a huge mistake, okay? The accountant skipped the most important part of the conversation. The prospect hasn't emotionally committed to solving the problem yet. They've only acknowledged that it exists. There's a massive difference there. A problem acknowledged is not the same as a problem owned. Elite salespeople understand this distinction. Boom! You got to get it. You got to figure it out. You got to apply it. All right, let's go to the next module, Module 3. And this module is titled The Difference Between Interest and Commitment. All right, so you're out on the sales calls, right? You're doing your thing. You did some outreach. How exciting. You finally got the business owner phone and you're in the conversation. Okay? And the prospect's saying, I'm interested. But here's the thing. It means almost nothing. People are interested in everything, right? Think about it. Like, they're interested in losing weight, they're interested in saving money, interested in reading more books, interested in exercising, requires basically no action. You have to understand that commitment is different. Commitment sounds like this. I can't keep operating this way. I need accurate numbers. I have to figure this out. This is costing me way too much. So, do you notice the difference? Where one is curiosity, the other is ownership, and clients buy after ownership occurs. So I have to figure that out. All right, let's go to the next module. Write this down. The discovering meeting most accountants never run. And actually you should title it The Discovery Meeting That I Never Run, right? You don't do it. But after watching this, you're going to apply it and you will start. So look, let's imagine, let's run a hypothetical. Imagine a business owner says, my bookkeeping is behind. Well, most accountants, okay, start explaining services. Guys, write this down. What I need you to do instead is say, how far behind are you? What problems is that creating? How much time are you spending dealing with that? Talk to me about that. What opportunities are you missing because your financials aren't current? So what happens is, now something important takes place. The prospect starts explaining the consequences themselves, right? You didn't create the pain. Who created the pain? They created the pain. You simply helped them see it more clearly, right? And that's where the commitment begins. All right, let's title this one The Socratic Method. The Socratic Method. One of the oldest teaching methods in history comes from the Greek philosopher Socrates. Instead of giving answers, he asked questions. His students arrived at conclusions on their own. Elite sales works the exact same way. If you got a hold of one of the people that I've trained in sales, they would say, oh yeah, he says selling isn't telling, it's all about questions, right? The moment a prospect reaches a conclusion themselves, guys, it becomes dramatically more powerful than anything you could have told them. You have to understand that people understand their own conclusions more than your explanations. Always. Always. It's always been that way, and it will always be that way, right? All right, let's move to the next module. The client should always be doing most of the talking. So look, here's a challenge for you. All right, let me give you a darn challenge. Go listen to your last sales call. Who spoke more? If it was you, that's the problem. You're the problem. Okay, fix it. Now that you know you're the problem, go ahead and fix it and get better results. The person learning the most during a conversation is the one doing the talking. That's the secret, guys. When prospects explain their challenges, their goals, their frustrations, their desired future, they become increasingly committed to solving the issue, right? Every answer deepens ownership. Every answer increases clarity. But more importantly, every answer moves them closer to what? Action. And action's where the moolah's at. Let's move to the next module. Title it The Micro Commitment Framework. The Micro Commitment Framework. If you talk to a lot of the people I train, they would say, yes, Nate's all big. He's really big on micro commitments, okay? Understand that great salespeople rarely ask for large commitments first. It'd be crazy if the first commitment I asked for was the buy. I can't do those kinds of things, right? Great salespeople rarely ask for large commitments first. Write that down and bold it, underline it. They ask for the small commitments first. Let's say you're an advisory consultant. Instead of trying to sell a $2,000 engagement immediately, you might ask, would you agree cash flow visibility is important? Would you agree knowing your margins helps decision making? Would you agree growth becomes harder when financial reporting isn't accurate? Boom! So look, here's the thing. A prospect says yes, 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 yes. Why does that matter? Because they're reinforcing beliefs that naturally support your solution, not because you're tricking them, but because you're helping them articulate reality. Let's move to the next module. I think you're starting to get it. That through open-ended questions is how I will sell my accounting services. All right, the next module, title it, Why Questions Close More Deals Than Presentations. Why questions close more deals than presentations. Well, a lot of you, including you, yes, you watching my video right now, you most likely think that your expertise is what's going to close the deal. It certainly will help. But questions are what close deals. Here's why. Your statements, and write all this down, this is beautiful stuff, right? You gotta remember too, the stuff I give you for free on here is better than stuff you'll spend thousands of dollars for on a sales course. Just always keep that in mind. So here's the thing. Statements create resistance. Statements create resistance. Questions create reflection. Questions create reflection. Look, when you tell someone you need bookkeeping, they evaluate your opinion. But there's a difference, right? When you ask, what happens if your book stays 6 months behind? What happens now is they evaluate their situation. So look at it like this, where one creates defense, the other creates awareness. And awareness drives action. All right, let's go to the next thing. Boom, very next module, title this, Advanced Application, little dots, right? Advisory Services. Advisory Services. Now, if you're not selling advisory services, then you need to go check us out at Universal Accounting or contact me, and I'll help you get the Profit and Growth Expert certification. It's nonsense. Look, let me just put it like this, right? You're reporting the books, okay? Now, why don't you get in the meeting and tell the owner how to make those numbers better, make them an extra 10, 20K in profit, and charge them $2,800 for your advisory plus the bookkeeping. They'll have no problem paying you that because you're bringing that in. So let's say you're selling CFO or advisory service, okay? Listen, don't start with we provide forecasting, budgeting, KPI dashboards, and strategic planning. No one gives a crap, right? Start here instead. What financial decisions are keeping you up at night? Pause. Let them think, then continue. What would improve if you had a complete confidence in your numbers? Now they're imagining the outcome. Now they're describing the value. Now they're emotionally invested. That's commitment. Anytime you say a phrase or a good open-ended question, you can say, talk to me about that. Right? Let's go to the next module. This module is crucial. The real reason people don't buy. The real reason people don't buy. What would that real reason be? Okay? Most business owners don't reject your service. They reject uncertainty. Check my last video out. I believe my last video covered that extensively. But look, your job isn't to pressure them. Your job is to help them become certain that change is necessary. The moment they fully believe change is necessary, buying becomes logical, right? The sale is not won when they understand your service. The sale is won when they understand their problem. Okay? All right. I'm going to leave you with this, and if you made it to this part of the video, like, kudos to you. You're a winner, not a loser. So here's the thing. The highest level of insight that I can leave you with is that most people, when they think of the game of selling and selling their services, think that selling is telling. Selling is trying to convince. That is freaking nuts. I just want you to know that. Professional salespeople help prospects discover. Masters help prospects commit. The strongest sales conversations feel less like presentations and more like guided self-discovery. The prospect literally leaves thinking, that was exactly what I needed. Not because you gave them an amazing pitch, but because you helped them see the truth about their business. And once people commit to a truth they discover themselves, they naturally seek actions that are consistent with it. That's the science of commitment and consistency. And if you're an accountant who wants more clients, stop focusing on explaining your services and start focusing on helping business owners commit to solving the problems they already know they have. Make sure you like and subscribe. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, one more thing. Keep winning, baby!